Hey y'all, this is part two because my first one was getting close to 15 minutes and it is, anyways. So here are the last two examples. Copy this down. All right, example 3. Find the measure of angle 1, measure of angle 2, measure of angle 3. Which angle is supplementary to 32 degrees? So I have this figure. Got a line going across. I have a right angle, so I know that's 90. And then I have 3 missing angle measurements, but we can find them fairly easily. And I wrote a note right here. I want you to practice setting up equations on how to get to these measurements. So first, let's figure out, we have a 90 degree and 32 degrees. Let's start with angle 1. This line right here is forming a straight angle, and we know that a straight angle is 180 degrees. So let's add our angles together. We have 90 plus angle 1 plus 32. So that would be the kind of equation I'm looking for. Nothing difficult, just the equation to set it up. You would combine like terms, 90 plus 32. So we have 122 plus angle 1 is equal to 180. And then by subtracting, we find out that angle 1 is 58 degrees. So I know that some of you could have just done that a lot quicker, done it in your head, but I would just still want you to focus on setting up an equation. So angle 1 is 58 degrees. Now, for angle 3, we kind of have a choice. Well, let's do angle 2. Do you see this straight line right here? That's 180 degrees. So we know that angle 32 plus angle 2 is going to be 180 degrees. So that would be your equation. Just don't forget to set up an equation. Simple subtraction to solve this equation. So angle 2 is going to be 148 degrees, I think. If you add that back, do you get 180? So 148. And then measure of angle 3, you have a couple of options. Measure of angle 3, you can use this straight angle right here and know that angle 3 and 2 are supplementary. Or you can use the knowledge that angle 3 and this angle are vertical angles. Do you see how they are across from each other and they make a V, which means they're congruent. Either way, you can use vertical angles or you can use supplementary angles, but this angle is going to be 32 degrees also. So I think of angle 1 is 58 degrees, angle 2 is 148 degrees, and angle 3 is 32 degrees. So the question is, which angle is supplementary to 32? And so the answer is angle 2 is supplementary because when you add them together, you get 180 degrees. And the definition of a supplementary angle is when you add them together, they're going to equal 180. All right, last one. Copy this down. Example 4. All right, I'm going to scoot up a little bit. So let's do this first part. A. Find angle 7 and angle 8. So finding angle 7 and angle 8. Over here, 7 and 8. 7 and 8 are right beside each other. They form a straight angle, and they're supplementary, which means when I add them together, I'm going to get 180 degrees. So I want to add angle 7, which is 5x, and angle 8, which is 3x plus 20. I want to add them together to get 180. So combine like terms, 8x plus 20. I subtract 20. Did we just do this one, I feel like? Are they the same numbers? Close. So x equals 20. But that doesn't solve my problem. That just gives me x. So I have to substitute it back in. So for angle 7, it's going to be 5 times 20, which is 100 degrees. So angle 7 is 100 degrees. And then we plug it back in for angle 8, and we get 3 times 20 plus 20. So 60 plus 20, so 80 degrees. So we have our two answers, angle 7 and angle 8. All right, last one. Measure of angle 10 and measure of angle 12. So they want us to find 10 and 12. So let's look over here, 10 and 12. The relationship between 10 and 12 is they are vertical angles, which means they are congruent. They are equal to each other. Vertical angles are equal to each other. Since these are equal to each other, I'm going to set my equation equal to each other. So measure angle 10 is 14x equals 16x minus 20. I want to solve that equation with variables on both sides. I'm going to subtract 16x on both sides, and that's negative 2x, and this, don't forget that negative, is negative 20. I'm going to divide both sides, and I get x equals 10. X equals 10 is great and fantastic, but it doesn't solve the problem for us. We have to substitute it back in to find our angle measurements. I'm going to substitute it back in here. So 14 times 10 is 140, so angle 10 is 140 degrees. And because they're vertical angles, I'll know they're congruent, so angle 12 is also 140 degrees. You could substitute it back in. 10 times 16 is 160, minus 20 is 140. But that is how you can use supplementary angles and vertical angles, and we're still using our algebra skills. So we're going to practice more of this in class together.